German
Iranian
dolphins.
targets.
Those German dolphins.
That's right. But they can only pack a certain amount of punch with those because they're constrained to submarine platforms. So would they basically reap more than they would sow in a situation like that? Well, Iran could be expected to really retaliate in force. But we have Iranian presidential elections coming up this week, and if the moderate wins, that's going to take a lot of the wind out of the sails of Netanyahu to be talking about a strike on Iran, because everybody will be looking at further rapprochement. And if Mousavi wins that election, I think we'll have an Iranian embassy reopening in Washington in probably 6 months.
Okay, I want to go to some calls here as promised, but Wayne, I want to throw out two other points to you. I know you've got some intel on Air France. Was there any chicanery there? A lot of people have been saying that. There have been bomb threats in the days before. I want to get your take on that from your sources. But first, we remember that the CIA section chief over Afghanistan and Pakistan, and we interviewed him, wrote Jawbreaker and admitted what we already knew, that the Taliban would grab for $20,000, $25,000 bounties 14-year-old kids that couldn't find the U.S. on a map, sell them as al-Qaeda fighters, and then they would take them to Guantanamo Bay, and the government didn't care. They wanted just bodies to say, look, there's the terror threat, to add validity to the war on terror. Now it's admitted that in Pakistan and Iraq, they pay people $150 per RFID chip, or it's more than RFID, little radio beacons, and that the people admit, this was in the Times of London and London Telegraph and in Wired magazine, that they then just go throw them in innocent people's houses. And that's some of why we see weddings and people being wiped out, because people will just leave these in public places and get their $150. And the Defense Department doesn't care, because they just want to say, oh, look, we identified all these terror targets to keep the mission going. It's kind of like fake body counts. Instead of having fake body counts, we'll just go ahead and blow up real weddings. And they're now using dead people at weddings as a body count and have reintroduced the body count. Your comments on that?
Well, it harkens back to what happened in Vietnam with Operation Phoenix, inflated number of Viet Cong and VA dead. They're playing with numbers. I really think we need to get out of Iraq. We need to get out of Afghanistan, and stop this bloodletting on both sides. General Petraeus, who I think is the biggest fraud ever served recently in the Pentagon, wearing a uniform, is basically still pushing this surge, and now he wants the surge in Afghanistan, and the surge has had dramatic consequences. We've had all these. The media doesn't even cover Baghdad anymore, or Iraq more generally.
That's right. The deaths have gone back up now.
Exactly, and there 3 servicemen here killed in a roadside bomb, 4 here, and nobody's even covering it. You don't even get covered
because
on evening
Obama's
news.
In now. Now it's a new chapter. Move on, and then it's almost like Iraq doesn't exist.
MoveOn.org supports the war. That's the other thing. This liberal progressive organization now is supporting Afghanistan and Iraq, the surge, and they've just shown themselves to be total phonies. They're not progressive. They were just in it for themselves. Another George Soros-backed organization, and Soros is the chief and most wealthy troublemaker in the world today.
What about Soros? He's had all his organs attacking me lately. It's kind of scary. All his publications.
Join the club. Me too. He's after me every day, and it comes from different. He has all these fun organizations, so I'm getting it from multiple sides.
What does that mean to have Soros attacking us?
Well, I think it's good. I mean, it shows that we're not buying into his Hegelian view of the world, where he tries to create these opposition forces, and then he's going to capitalize on the chaos he creates. He puts these puppets in. He has these themed revolutions in Georgia, Ukraine. He calls them orange revolutions, tulip revolutions, and Lebanon.
But I mean, that's my point. Is why is he bragging at press conferences that he's behind the crisis, which he really isn't, but he's capitalizing and saying, I'm having a great crisis, time of my life, culmination of my life. And then he's funding these eugenics movies, saying carbon footprints are big, we got to have global taxes paid to him. I mean, he's a monster.
He's just a masterful. I look at him as a foreign. He's the same as Rupert Murdoch, only he's more insidious how he infiltrates the media. Where Murdoch doesn't care; he just goes and buys newspapers and network. Whereas Soros basically infiltrates or sets up his own front organization. You know, Soros runs the old Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty now that puts out all this propaganda that's aimed primarily at Russia, but at other countries as well, where he's up to no good.
Are you kidding? He's producing, his front groups are producing many films about me now. And I mean, I know this guy sends hit teams into countries too. It's kind of creepy, Wayne, but you don't think he'll come after us physically?
Well, I hope not. You know, but look, the guy's a multi-billionaire, so you know he can do whatever whatever his money can buy. But the good thing is there's a pushback against Soros. In the Republic of Georgia, there's now an anti-Soros political party. They called him out in Moldova. He tried to stage a revolution there called the Twitter Revolution. It failed. In Ukraine, they're after him. So I see that they're basically there's this reaction against Soros. And the more we expose them, the more the reaction will become, stronger against them around the world.
We're going to come back and cram in a few final calls for you. But real quick, tell us about Air France that disappeared. Go ahead.
I was told by people from with links to 3 intelligence services, British, French, and American, that look at the passenger list. There were 2 individuals who were getting ready to unveil this year's survey on small arms in Geneva. They've been battling drug and weapons smugglers, the global smugglers, and they were on that flight. Very key people in the war against the proliferation against drugs and small arms, these cartels.
Well, I mean, they're talking about weird electronic interference already, and how would this super modern plane just disappear? Who was it they were trying to kill?
Well, the 2 individuals were Ronald Dreyer, a Swiss diplomat, and Pablo Dreyfus, who had worked with the Brazilian government to combat drug gangs and weapons and drug smuggling.
There was also a former Brazilian royal on board.
That's true, too. Well, he may have been collateral damage along with a couple other senior corporate executives.
Yeah. Interesting. Wayne Madsen, stay there, jamming a few final calls, the wild cards, on the other side. Stay with us. Transmission nearing completion.